your health and really dedicating yourself to your health no matter what, the payoff long term could be you're there for your family, you're there for your daughter's wedding, and you don't have to have those expensive medical bills. Because one of the best things about health is when nothing happens.
Job hunting. It's the one thing we're never taught as we enter the adult world. Gone are the days of knocking on doors and simply getting a job based on a firm handshake, asking to speak to the hiring manager, and making a good first impression. Today's job hunt has more resources and more opportunities than ever before, but there's no roadmap to ensure that you don't lose your way or your mind when navigating today's complex job market. Welcome to Recruiting Hell. I'm your host and guide, Rob Conlon, and this podcast is for anyone who is frustrated with the current job hunt and looking for guidance as to what to do next to find a new or better job. We're on a mission to educate as many job seekers as possible on how to improve their work life, and since its inception, this show has helped find and secure more than $1.5 million in salaries and benefits for our listeners at new jobs that they love. So please, come and step into my studio and let's teach you how to get out of the hell that is your job hunt. Hello and welcome to Recruiting Hell. I'm your host, Rob Conlon. This is an episode that I've talked about doing for the better part of a year, and it's finally coming around because we finally found the right expert to come and chat about this. Julian Hayes, founder of The Art of Fitness and Life, joins us today as we discuss one of the things that generally gets completely ignored by most folks who are unemployed: their physical health. At one of the times of your life where you have more free time than ever, it's really easy to use that for entertainment rather than health. I know, I've made that same mistake myself. So today we're bringing Julian on to share some of his wisdom and the habits that can help make your unemployment stretch not only something that helps get you a new job, but also something that's better for your overall health in the long run. Julian, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Man, I like that intro, Rob. Thank you so much for having me here. And this is a very exciting topic to talk about. It's a very uncommon thing that is never discussed, and I can kind of relate to this in a lot of ways. So I'm looking forward to talking about this.
Julian, to give our listeners a little bit more background on you and your show, The Art of Fitness and Life, which, by the way, listeners, you should be tackling after listening to this episode, tell us a little bit more about how you help others with their fitness journey and the philosophy that you take with pairing that with business and careers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so as you mentioned, the company is called The Art of Fitness and Life, and the podcast is Optimal Health for Busy Entrepreneurs. But don't let the title entrepreneurs fool you. We're all entrepreneurs to a certain standpoint because we are in charge of our own life. But the point of that is to marry science and business. And what I mean by that is a lot of times we want to separate those things. But really our professional development, how we go about our careers, a lot of that is predicated on our physical health, on our mindset. And so a little things that are probably different about me is that I look at this from a system standpoint. So this human body that we're in, this is a system, and we are interacting with the environment around us. So everything is influencing the system. So it's not just about the foods you eat. It's not just about exercising. It's about your relationships. It's about your purpose in life, your mission, your fulfillment. It's about a lot of even your finances as well, all of that. Because for people who are into finances, if you're stressed about money, that's going to stress your system. If you're stressed with your system, you might make poor decisions. So I try to connect all these things do not exist in a silo. They're all connected. And so simply put, I want people to think deeper when it comes to their health.
That's outstanding. Wow. And again, I think the interconnectedness of everything, it might not seem like it at the surface for most things in life, but if you really dig down, you really go looking for those like power cables that connect everything in life, they're there beneath the surface. So that's absolutely excellent. So Julian, last year we saw a record number of folks in America and around the world, they were out of work. And for the folks who are either back at it or maybe still on that search and hopefully listening to this show because they're on that search, where would you say that fitness ranks on their priority list right now?
I would love for it to be number one, But if I'm being honest, it's probably maybe in the top 5, maybe number 4 or 5, maybe 3.
Interesting.
But it should be number 1. But I understand why it's not. Because the thing about fitness is that it's tricky. Because you're not necessarily going to have your body break down in a week. Maybe not even 2 weeks. Maybe not even 3 weeks. But what you will notice is if you're looking for a job and you still don't have it, and you're reminded of that every day. So, of course, it's going to be more top of mind. A lot of things in health take time to happen, take time to manifest themselves. You're not going to have 20 pounds just magically show up that you're 20 pounds overweight. That's going to slowly happen over time. And it's a paradox right there. And so it's tough. And I really get that because it doesn't show up a lot, but it should be number 1.
Interesting. Because, see, you're saying, yes, it should be number 1. It's hopefully top 5. Like you said, I'm feeling like it's dead last. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where what you just mentioned, that it's a paradox, that 20 pounds just doesn't plop onto your butt or your gut overnight. It's a really slow, it's an ounce a day or whatever it might be. And that seems like a really unimportant thing, but you just leave it and it balloons. So that's wild.
It is because it feels dire that I need to find a job. I need to find employment. I need to have money coming in. There's a lot of uncertainty there. So you feel this primal survival of, we got to make things happen, especially if you're trying to forecast maybe a month or two ahead and you're looking at expenses that you have to pay for. Exercise seems like a luxury. Going to a gym, going outside to a park, that's kind of a luxury. And then depending on how finances are, you may want to cut back on food. So maybe you're going to, what I've seen sometimes is where they're not going to necessarily start just eating the cheapest crappy foods, but they will cut back on the quantity of those foods. And so for certain people, say it's a guy of my size, about 200 pounds, and he starts maybe only eating 1 time a day now. Where is this energy going to be generated from? He's not working out, and he's not supplying his body with enough nutrients. So he might feel a little lethargic, and then that's going to cascade and pour over into his looking for a job and even showing up as the best candidate that he can. So that's why it's a paradox, because we need this energy. We need to supply our body with these raw materials so then we can have the necessary output to go put our best foot forward on this.
Again, one of those sort of double-edged swords. You need to reduce expenses, but in reducing expenses, you're also reducing potentially your, I guess, output, if you will, to the world, whether it's energy or enthusiasm or motivation. And that can, I think, really lead to a very sedentary type lifestyle, which is not good. I mean, they say that sitting is the new smoking. Julian, break this down a little bit for us. So what happens when we start to get into that really sit down, that sedentary lifestyle? Maybe we had a job that had us walking around a big industrial plant or a big retail store, or maybe we were landscaping. What does it mean for someone who's out of work, and what happens physically to someone who's out of work when they stop that, short-term and long-term?
Practically speaking, you're not going to have as much energy. You only get energy through moving, and there's something called piezoelectricity. So you're moving and you're generating energy. And this is even for people who work out a lot, where just lifting weights maybe 30 minutes a day and then sitting the rest of the time, that's barely better than someone who is sitting down all day. So we are designed to move. Us humans are designed to move. And when you think about simple movement, you don't have to go run at marathons. You can have something as simple as every 10 minutes. I mean, not every 10 minutes, sorry. Every 10 minutes within the hour. So 50 minutes of maybe productivity, 10 minutes of just standing up, going for a quick walk around the neighborhood, going for a quick walk around the house, just to have your body moving and not being so stiff. And for some people, sitting and everything, it manifests itself through maybe their joints start having a little more joint pains. Back's a lot stiff. Their glutes are inactive because they've been sitting so long, so those glute muscles are not firing as much. So now we have this back pain, and we think it's a back when really it's just our glutes are not being used at all.
So this cascade effect. So let's pretend for a moment that I had a job, maybe I was a landscaper or something like that, and now I'm sitting on my butt and I'm
I'm eating the Cheetos, I've got some Mountain Dews, and I'm having a great time with my friends who are also looking for work or whatever it might be. What happens to me? So day one, I'm in decent shape. How does that sort of degradation manifest itself? Like, what happens on like a cellular level and like even like the muscle structure level when we do that, when we kind of plop down?
You won't notice anything probably physically for a decent amount of time.
How long?
Probably a couple of weeks or a month. I would say for most people, you might feel like bloated and stuff, like, or little things like that. Where if you're taking some really salty meal and you're not used to really taking in a lot of different sodium and your body's not used to that, so you might retain more water a little bit because your body's not used to it. It happens to me at times as well but that's just little small things that can come and go. As far as like weight gain, it's going to take a while as well. That's why it's like death by 1,000 cuts. It's like a little crack in a dam where there's a little hole in the dam. It's so small that you just look at it and say, okay, it's fine. It's not that big of a hole. There's not a lot of water coming out of it. It'll be fine. And it starts to erode. Then all of a sudden, boom, it just falls apart. And you're like, oh, this is a huge problem we have. And that's kind of how it is with weight. We're recording this around the start of the holiday season. The holiday season is known for people gaining weight. Maybe it's 3 to 7 pounds every holiday season. Doesn't sound like a lot, but say the person gains 7 pounds during this holiday, then the next year they work off maybe 4 of those. So they're only 3 pounds heavier at this time next year. But then you keep repeating it. 10 years and 3 pounds gain each year, that's 30 pounds. So now all of a sudden you're 30 pounds heavier than what you were a decade ago. And that's how it happens.
Now I'm thinking back in time here going, oh my God, what happened to me?
But it's so small. It's just like looking at like labs. I do lab work as well. A couple points here and there, no big deal, right? Check it again, 2-3 points higher. It keeps going up. The next thing you know, oh, I'm pre-diabetic. How did this sneak up on me? There's a great book called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, and the simplest things can either catapult us to success, or it can keep us stuck in frustration and disappointment. And it's the simplest habits. It's not the big grand events of the day. It's the very small mundane things. It's the drinking the water. It's getting whatever your daily steps in. It's getting your sleep in. It's honing in on your relationships that really nourish you. It's not all the fancy things. That's cool, but that's really the icing on the cake, and we can't get ahead of ourselves.
Got it. So again, the building blocks of relationships, of health, of food, of all these things.
Yeah. Because one of the first things a lot of times people ask me is, "How do you eat, Julian?" Or "What supplements do you take, Julian?" And "What's your training regimen like?" And the thing is, if I told you all this in detail, it probably wouldn't be a benefit to you, because we're probably at two different junctures of our life. What's good for me is not good for you, because I have a lot of my foundations set, whereas maybe you don't. I have different goals of what fitness and health is for me that I'm training for, where maybe you don't. So there's not a blanket answer. So you really have to have that self-awareness to see, where am I at? Do I really have the fundamentals down? And if I don't, then I need to focus on that before I start getting into all these other really minute things.
That's one of those things where, again, building blocks, they're simple, and I think sometimes people can feel so stressed, but the interesting dichotomy of unemployment is like, it's such a pressure, but it's also one of the times in life where you have like the most free time possible. And I've heard a couple say like, "Oh, you don't have a ton of free time." It's like, you kind of do. I mean, you really do. Like, you have
absolutely,
you have 40 hours that go back into your week, and even if you're hammering on a job search a week, you'll go crazy, number one. But number two, you'll also deplete the metropolitan area that you're living in if you're, going that hard with a job search. So, everybody reports either not having free time, but it really is there. So I know there were a lot of times, like when I was bored, when I was out of work, that I filled time with things that didn't do my body very good. Like, not necessarily stress eating, but like boredom eating. Julian, how should we be going about approaching staying fit when I'm a $30 to $50 a month gym membership was just not in the cards because we needed that money to pay the mortgage. How should we go about that?
The first answer would be, if you live close to a park, I would look into that. I would go to a park and work out there. If that's not an option, I would work out in the garage. If that's not an option, I would work out somewhere in the house. And if that's not an option, I would just work out on the street or the driveway. So I guess the moral of the story is there is really no excuse to wherever you go, that can be your gym, because we have our body. And a long time ago, before the YMCA's, the Planet Fitness, the LA Fitnesses, a lot of time before them, there were still a lot of in shape people who had pretty nice bodies and were pretty healthy, and they didn't need a gym to go to. And they relied on bodyweight exercises, push-ups, bodyweight squats, pull-ups, if you have like a monkey bar or anything. And you can even use various like heavy bags or suitcases or something that's heavy, and you can do some rows. So you have your body to work out with. And it doesn't even take an hour. You can get really good workouts in about 20 minutes, full body workouts in.
Okay, that's awesome. And actually, I've seen a lot of stuff about bodyweight fitness and having it being touted as a easy and quick way, as far as time per workout, to be easy, quick, and inexpensive way to get a workout in. What else can you tell us about this, Julian, that could help folks make sure that they maintain their health over their unemployment stretch?
Yeah, so when you're thinking about a bodyweight workout or any workout in general, unless you're a little bit of a meathead like myself, I'm a recovering meathead. I'm not as much of a meathead now. I'm into the running world as well now. I live in two worlds now. But before I go off on that tangent, when you're thinking about a workout, what are the things I always recommend, especially if think about efficiency and effectiveness. Keep those two things in mind first and foremost, especially if you don't really like working out just yet. You'll like it when you get results, but at the beginning, I totally get it, because I hated running at the very beginning.
I hate it too.
Absolutely. But now I love it. It's been a godsend. I love running now. But so thinking about the workouts here, when I'm working out the body, think of it as I want to hit all the major muscles.
Okay.
But not every single one. So I'm not saying like you got to hit your forearms, everything, the major ones. So think about things such as like your chest. Think of things such as your back. The back is harder. That is the hardest one with body weight, is working out your back. And so pull-ups really are the best thing, but sometimes pull-ups are harder for people, or they don't have the strength yet to do that. And so that's why you can do something called rows. Like
okay.
In the gym it's called dumbbell rows, but at home you can find, maybe use a suitcase or some kind of bag and put some stuff in it that makes it a little heavy, and then that can be your own personal dumbbell to do rows with on each one. And then you have lower body, and typically I would do more lower body exercises than upper body exercises.
Interesting.
It's bigger muscle groups, and so you're going to burn more calories, and also it's a lot more in your lower body than it is your upper body. So I would put a lot more focus on lower body, and it's easier to do. There's a lot of lower body exercises we can do compared to upper body exercises with body weight. And
got it.
When you think of a lower body, of course you have your squats, of course you have your front and your reverse lunges, and you can even do calf raises. And if you're really just getting started with the habit, I typically, fitness people are not going to like me saying this, I don't really care what you do. I just want you to do something to get in the habit of it. Like, what you do really doesn't matter as long as you're not getting hurt. It's kind of like building a writing habit. Like, it doesn't really matter what you write at the beginning. You just need to get into the swing of becoming someone who writes. So I want you to get in the habit of becoming someone who exercises, someone who moves their body, someone who exercises. Once you get in the habit of that, you build a positive association with that, a positive feeling with it. Then we can start worrying about precise programming and sequencing of exercises and all that good stuff. But at the very beginning, just get moving and you're going to feel better. And after that, I guess I also need to mention that you can also walk as well. Walking's very good. You can also jump rope. Jump roping is a favorite of mine as well. And you don't have to I have weighted jump ropes, but obviously you don't need to have weighted jump ropes. weighted jump ropes are good because it's more resistant, so it will feel more like a workout. But you can find a very inexpensive jump rope for a couple bucks, and you can do circuits. You can jump rope, and then you can do some body weight exercises, and you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. And there's a lot of good apps as well that are free that can take you through some jump roping workouts. And I look at this also when you talk about needing the gym or you don't exercise at all. I think about the movie, I think it was Iron Man 3. He didn't have his suit, and so he had to do a lot without that suit. So who are you without the suit? And so I think about this, who are you without the gym? Do you need the gym? A lot of people, this is crazy. And I even had some fitness friends. They even struggled when things were really closed down. They're like, man, I can't get a workout in. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? You have outside. We have outside here. You have your neighborhood. You have the park. You have your body. You know how to use your body. You can just start working out. But we gotten so used to the comfort and the habit of going into a gym and using machines when at the very beginning, and it's even ideal, is when I was doing more personal training in person, the person I worked with, they had to be able to control their own body
right
before they started using a bunch of weights. It's a progression anyway. So before you think about bench pressing, for example, with a bar, can you do a push-up? Can you do a correct push-up? Before you think about squatting with a lot of weight on it, do you have good mobility with your body? Can you squat effectively with just your body? Mm-hmm.
Right. Can you get that deep, those knees, or that knee crease down, at a downward angle? Yeah, I totally get you. Wow, that kind of little mind blow there. It's great. All right, so we've kind of determined here that perhaps it's a myth. Like, oh, I can't afford to go to the gym. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're on your job hunt. Yeah, and the gym is something that's been slashed. That doesn't mean that you have an excuse to get chubby. And I hope it's not hypocritical for myself here to talk about that with my listeners. But, I'm a big guy and things like that. And that's revelatory for me to be like, dude, you got to do what you got to do. And I think for folks who, no matter where they are in their job hunt, that's a good kick in the pants. So outstanding.
Here's the thing. If you do have a lot of weight to lose, the bright side of that situation, if there is, if there's always something that you can take from any situation and turn it into a positive. I call it changing poison into medicine. It's a saying that I live by. Just getting your body in motion is going to start the benefits, is going to start helping you lose weight. Because the more weight you have, just moving and doing things, you're going to lose that. Maybe someone like myself that doesn't have as much to lose, I have to be a lot more dialed in. It's a lot harder to lose those last few pounds. But when you do have a lot of weight to lose, you don't necessarily need to be super precise like someone like myself to get that last percentage off. I'm trying to work on the last 5 to 10% of the equation. When you got 90% of the equation, half the battle is just being mindful of what you're eating and getting a sweat in every day, doing something.
Hey listeners, we're going to take a quick break here for some of the business side of running a podcast. These sponsors not only believe in this show, but they may have a product, service, or even an open position that can help you end your job hunt. Give them a listen and drop by their websites in thanks for their help in supporting this show and your work search. As the host of a podcast about job hunting, I know that my listeners need to make their resumes stand out. I can tell them great things that will increase their chances of getting an interview, but sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words. I'm Rob Conlon, host of Recruiting Hell, and my friends at mycareersnapshot.com have what might possibly be one of the best add-ons to what you send companies to help you get hired. With My Career Snapshot's Next Gig platform, you'll have a beautifully, professionally designed career summary to make your application stand out. It takes just minutes to get your snapshot ordered. Delivery is prompt and revisions are a snap. I loved my snapshot. It let me put what was important to me about me on paper. And the designers even went so far as to do the research on the awards that I've won and included wireframe mock-ups of those logos, so my achievements really popped. Looking for a great investment in your resume that showcases more than words ever could? Look to mycareersnapshot.com and be sure to tell them Rob sent you. Use code HELL22 for up to $70 off your order at mycareersnapshot.com. Again, that's mycareersnapshot.com, code HELL22. We're back. A big thank you to our sponsors for their offerings as well as you for considering them. On with the show.
And that, I think, for a lot of folks is probably what they need to hear, is to be mindful of what you're eating, be very mindful of what you're eating, and just make sure you move every day. That's awesome. So I want to shift some gears here real quick, Julian. I want to talk a little bit more about how your show in particular helps those who are probably not quite in this audience, but are maybe they're looking for a new opportunity. Maybe they're not unemployed, but maybe they have a job that they dislike. What could they learn from increasing their level of fitness and things like that?
Fitness can actually serve as a launching pad for your career. And what I mean by that is, for me, at the very beginning, it was about looks and really trying to feel confident in my body. But over time, it became something where I did some feats and pushed myself to levels that I didn't think was possible. And that gave me confidence to go after some things in my professional life that I didn't think I could. It gave me the confidence I had courage. I had confidence, and that gave me that ability to walk away from school. I left medical school after a year to start a business. And because there were periods where I had 0 clients, and then there was periods also with the academic world where I'm just applying, and I'm just in this no man's land where I'm just applying, and I worked on applications. I sent those off for the day. What else am I going to do? And fitness was something that could help me channel and get some of that negative energy out. Help me get some of that anxiety out. It's a very anxious process of sending an application in, whether it's for school, whether it's for a job, whether it's for a proposal to send to a client, because you're sending it. You might check it and see, did they open the email? Oh, it's been 24 hours, 48 hours. I haven't heard anything. Maybe they liked it. Maybe did I mess up? Did I misspell something on this application? So you're getting
Puts that little doubt in there, right? Yeah.
You're getting very neurotic, and getting your body in motion. It gets those endorphins going, those feel good endorphins. Yes, but it also is just a way to get that anxious energy out of your system, because you have all this pent up energy from wanting something to work. I want this job. I want this opportunity. I'm tired of this. And this stuff bubbles up in you. And if you don't have an outlet for it, it has to show itself some way. And for some of us, that outlet comes with food. And we're eating our feelings. We're eating comfort food so we can feel comfortable, because we have all this tense energy in us. And we grab our favorite foods, and it feels comforting just for that moment. It eases us, and we just sit there, and we're like, I feel better. And then throw some TV or Netflix in there, and the next thing you know, it's that thing you were thinking about is gone. And if you're not mindful there, maybe I'll go back for some more. Maybe I'll just grab this other thing. And kind of like we talked about earlier, you're not going to notice it that night. It's fine. You're not going to notice it in the week. Maybe you'll notice it in 6 months, but you're not going to notice it at that moment. So to kind of put all these things together, it's to think long term and to really operate with an investor's mentality.
I absolutely love that, a business of potential. And I think something that many of us, when we're searching for a job, we feel like we don't have that potential. And I think reigniting that in a lot of people is not only a goal of this show, but again, probably a common goal between our two shows, which is just outstanding. And no matter where people are, giving them that next rocket booster to the next level here.
And I think I forgot which general said it. I think it's in one of the war books I read. And I think they said, when you have nothing going for you, seemingly, that is when you should be fearless. You have nothing to worry about because you don't have anything, right? I mean, you do have something, but the point is that's when you should be most free. That's when you should be most aggressive, most creative, because you have nothing to lose. And I really embodied that when I didn't have any listeners, no clients, whatever. I can do whatever I want and just try, because what's the worst that could happen? I'm going to end the day with the same result. So that's how you can think about this job search thing is maybe I will be different, and maybe I'm going to write some handwritten notes or something, or maybe I'm just going to do some video emails or something, because why not? There's 80 to 100 other people probably doing it, just going in the portal, typing in the information, and then sitting and waiting. So I'm going to be proactive and just be different. Regardless, if it works or not, I at least know I did something different. And I at least know I'm going to stand out.
No, it totally does. And I think you've got a good point of when you are in a situation like that where you're applying for a job, and maybe you're one of 100 applicants, we'll say, and you have the same application in there. Anything that you do to differentiate yourself, hopefully for good, maybe you do something that is just unusual or whatever it might be, and maybe that blows up in your face. But if you're adding something like to your resume, and they say add extra documents, a letter of recommendation, go these extra miles, a cover letter, a achievements page, something like hate to stump for them, but I love them. I do. I don't want to ever make this just an ad dominated show, but I have a couple sponsors, My New Job Hunt or My Career Snapshot. Something like those would be a perfect thing to add on to a resume, because you're right, Julian, when you do the extra, you have a much better opportunity for it to pay off. And I think that that's absolutely great.
You're creating your own personal standard. You're not being able to be categorized as just another applicant. You are John, you are Sarah. You're not these other people. You are your own distinct person. So for better or worse, but you are standing on your own 2 feet. And I just think that, the original question was that fitness provides that, because a lot of times fitness, and especially losing weight, it seems like an insurmountable goal. Like
it does.
That 20 pounds feels like you might as well go climb Mount Kilimanjaro or something. It just feels insurmountable. And I kind of felt like that when I went for my first 18-mile run. I was like, 18-mile run? Are you kidding me? But the thing is, it's one step at a time, one step. And that's how weight is. It's just 1 pound, 1 pound, 1 pound, 1 pound, 1 pound. And the thing with the job application is what I hear, because it's very similar to, for me, getting started in business, and for me also applying when I was doing medical school. It's just one application, and it's refining and continuing to work on myself every day. So every day that I don't get the call, I'm going to come back still better the next day to be an even better applicant. And kind of, since I'm a competitive person, I said everyone that overlooked me is going to regret that.
Right, and that's another thing that I think, without getting too far off track here, I know that there have been some people in my life, and I'm still connected to them on LinkedIn, and if they're listening to this show, I hope you know who you are. But there are some people out there who said, what you're going to do with recruiting hell or whatever it is, it's easy and it's just not worthwhile. And I keep those connections because I literally cannot wait for the day where I can throw them back in that person's face and be like, you said I was going to fail.
I'm the same way with my brand and my distinct messaging and approach. So it's we have a grand, bigger vision, and I think like you said, to stay on track here, it's good to really know you're playing chess and you're a chess grandmaster. A chess grandmaster is 15 moves ahead. So what he's doing today, he's doing it because he knows what the payoff is those next 15 moves. So your health and really dedicating yourself to your health no matter what, the payoff long term could be you're there for your family, you're there for your daughter's wedding, and you don't have to have those expensive medical bills, because one of the best things about health is when nothing happens.
I love that, and I should totally put a pin in that right there for one of the quotes from this one. It's absolutely great. All right, Julian, so last one on this little topic here. Are there any questions about fitness and a job hunt that I didn't ask you today?
I don't know if it's a question, but I think there's a lot of different benefits on fitness and how it connects to business, and I think that's something that's glossed over a lot.
Definitely.
And what I mean by that is things such as executive presence. And so how exercise helps with the executive presence. So there's a book I read a long time ago. I think it's called Executive Presence, actually. I forgot her name. And she talks about gravitas, communication, and appearance. And gravitas is basically like your confidence. And communication obviously is like it sounds, how you talk and how you project and everything. And appearance is kind of like it sounds,
right.
Your overall appearance. But the thing was, to really improve in those things, appearance, it wasn't like get shredded or anything. It was getting to whatever body weight that you felt comfortable in. Because whether you realize it or not, putting on your clothes, wearing clothes that you like, but that you also feel comfortable in, that gives you a certain type of energy. You know, so for myself, there's a certain dress code I hold myself to, even if I'm in the house and not going anywhere, because I know I feel more confident in it. I feel more powerful. There's certain feelings I want, and that radiates, that energy comes off to people around me. And that's communication that is not spoken, because only 7% of communication is verbal. The other part is nonverbal. And there's another great book called The Image of Leadership. And it talks about the first 7 seconds gives the first impression. And we all paint a story of ourselves within those first 7 seconds. And so you think about that. Like, when you're confident in your body, when you're confident in your energy, and you're disciplined, and you know you're doing what you're supposed to do day in and day out, there's a different type of walk that you're going to go out with the world in. And that's part of your gravitas. I love that.
And I think that you described that so well about how some people, you don't have to be fit necessarily. You look at like you think of a stereotypical like movie mob boss. He's not in great shape. He's an older gentleman who's probably considerably overweight, but everybody respects him because of the way he carries himself.
Yeah. And that's why one of the first sit downs when I talk with someone is, what does optimal health mean to you? You, not me. What does optimal health look like to you in your head? How do you move? How do you feel? What do you weigh? What dress size do you want? What's the size of your suit? What's the waist? What's the blazer size? What's the width? Get in those details. It's going to be different. It doesn't necessarily, one person may be 15% body fat. That's great. Another person may be 10%. But is it what you really want? That's one of the first battles, because a lot of times with clients at first, what they come in with is not really what they want. It's what they think they should want, but not what they want. And that creates a lot of friction, because they're doing things to try to get this goal that they think they really want when they want something else. And the whole process is totally different. And oftentimes it's less work involved than what they thought they really wanted.
That's pretty impressive. I love that. So we're coming to the end of everything here, Julian, where it's time for what we call our quickfire job hunting advice segment. And we've gotten some of the best advice on this show out of the following 3 questions. They're a bit rapid fire, but that doesn't mean that they have to be one-word answers. So if you feel like leaning on something a little bit longer than just a boom, boom, you can certainly do it. Are you ready?
Okay.
Alrighty.
Let's do it.
First question, my friend. What is the number one thing you think is wrong with the way the modern job search works?
There's a lot of things I can look at, but I think the first thing is they put too much stock into degrees and just surface level material that's on a resume, and they don't put enough stock into the character makeup, the values, and just the whole attitude of the person.
All right, next one. What's the one thing you've seen with the modern job hunt that everybody doesn't do that they should be doing?
Vetting. I think vetting. And what I mean by that is seeing what this person really stands for. What is this person? Like, researching the person. I want to research this person thoroughly and see what this person really is. Because you can tell me a lot of things in your resume. You can probably tell me a lot of things in an interview if you're pretty good socially. But I want to see what you really stand for. So I'm going to go back and really research you. And because you're bringing someone in for the culture. And you're adding someone to the culture. So it's like adding someone on a sports team. It's a championship environment here. Is this person going to be a distraction, or is he going to be able to fit into the culture here? And then on the opposite end of the thing, if I'm someone who is out here actively looking for jobs, it's the same thing I had to do when I was working on getting placed in different magazines and everything. You got to realize most of the time people are going to look for any and every little thing they can to disqualify you. So everything you do on social just assume that anything on the internet, it's always going to be here. So just be mindful of that. And as we talked about before this started, there's a personal, there's a private, and there's a professional life. Keep those things in mind. Now, if you're the CEO, the president, maybe the rules are different. But you're trying to get your foot in the door, trying to get established at a different company, keep those things in mind and be very mindful of that, because it's good to talk about authenticity and everything, but people are still people and we're still going to judge each other. So keep that in mind.
That is the one thing that I think has been one of the biggest back and forths of, like, people still judge. We outlaw discrimination, we do all these things, but deep down it sucks that people still judge. And I think that's one of the hardest things of a job hunt.
Well, I mean, that's why we're still here. That's how we survived throughout millennia as humans in our genes. We had to judge and take measures to protect ourselves. So it's something primitive rooted in us. And so it's not going anywhere.
Which is a shame.
It's a shame, but it's part of the laws of human nature, I think.
Last one, Julian. What's your number one LinkedIn tip?
Use the platform, post, or whatever you got to do, and connect. Do it with an intention and not just for the intention.
Interesting. Could you go expand on that just a little bit more?
Yeah. So there's certain things that we can probably post that will be popular. But is it within your brand? Is it how you want to be known? Or are you doing this just to try to get likes, comments, and engagement? Or is this really what you want to do? What's the intention behind it? Are you really have an intention of sharing something and adding this post just because you want to share this information? Or are you just really adding this just to try to get attention and boost your influencer status?
I love it. And I think we had somebody at one point in time in the past touch on never be an influencer. And I think that maybe plays a not a similar note necessarily, but like intention versus attention for your LinkedIn. Totally. I think that's wonderful and great answer, man. Thank you.
And it's better to have 3 people who really resonated with it. They took your advice. They might not even commented on it, because I tend to get people that don't comment on stuff, but I will hear from them later on or something like that. And so that's the best form, is just to really have those things and see who are you really impacting more than who am I just mindlessly entertaining and helping them pass time throughout the day.
Great set of answers there, my friend. So it is the end of the show, and it's time to tell everybody, if folks want to find more
as we draw
Julian
this
Hayes,
episode to a
where
close,
would
remember,
they look, good sir?
You are worth more than your work.
The first answer is
your
LinkedIn.
value to society is
and
not
you can just find me at
dictated by what
Julian
you
Hayes.
do
Second,
to pay your bills.
I think it'll be 2
Job
Roman
hunting
eyes,
is difficult, no matter
I think
your
you
age,
just look up Julian
gender,
Hayes. So
location,
connect with me
or
on
background.
LinkedIn. First of all,
And
that's
it's
the
both
easiest
acceptable
place.
and
the home base for my website is theartoffitnessandlife.com, and you'll have
this
links to the podcast as well.
For more from
Optimal Health for
Recruiting
Busy
Help,
Entrepreneurs.
subscribe to the show on
There
your
as
favorite
well.
podcast player
Well,
or
man,
our
it has
YouTube
been an
channel.
absolute pleasure
And don't
having you
forget
down
to
here
leave a
at Recruiting
review of
Health.
the
Thanks
show
for
if
so
your podcast
much
platform allows it.
in the
It's
way of
tremendously
fitness
helpful.
and health, and for
Connect
sitting in
with
the
Rob
hot
via
seat
LinkedIn.
today.
Be sure
We'll
to
see
visit
you again hopefully sometime soon.
recruiting-hell.com to subscribe to our newsletter. And of course, follow the show all across social media. Just look for the orange and blue flame logo. Recruiting Hell is a production of Westport Studios and is proudly made in Wisconsin. Lastly, be sure to visit and support our sponsors. They make it possible to do this show and make it better every single week. Remember, your job hunt is a marathon, not a sprint, and Recruiting Hell will be here to help you keep pace. Thanks for listening.